Have you ever seen a military strategy so precise, so unexpected, that it leaves even NATO stunned? This is not a scene from a war movie, this is real. This is Ukraine. In today's video, we're going to break down the genius strategy used by the Ukrainian Armed Forces to demolish a key Russian base, a move that shifted momentum on the front lines and sent shockwaves through military command centers across the world. Let's begin with the bigger picture. Russia invaded Ukraine expecting a swift victory. With superior numbers and firepower, Moscow thought it could break the Ukrainian spirit within weeks. What they didn't count on was Ukrainian intelligence, innovation, and strategy. Over the last 2 years, Ukraine has transformed from a conventional army into one of the most adaptive, unpredictable forces on the planet. From drone warfare to electronic jamming, from guerrilla-style sabotage to long-range precision strikes, Ukraine rewrote the rules of modern warfare. And this story, the story of how Ukraine crushed a high-value Russian base, is a perfect example of that evolution. Here's what happened. Satellite imagery had shown increased Russian logistics activity near a base in eastern Zaporizhia. The facility was being used as a command post, a supply hub, and a drone launch station. It was protected by electronic warfare systems, air defense units, and constant drone surveillance. On paper, it was impenetrable, but Ukraine had a plan. Instead of launching a direct assault, they began a campaign of disinformation and decoy tactics. Fake troop movements were staged to mislead Russian scouts. Radio chatter was manipulated. Then came phase 2, cyber disruption. Ukrainian cyber units jammed the area's surveillance drones, disabling real-time video feeds. Within hours, confusion set in. Russian operators reported unusual silence in the area, not knowing they were about to be blind. The next step, decapitation. Not in the literal sense, but strategically. Ukraine identified two high-ranking Russian officers stationed at the base. They waited for both to arrive using satellite heat imaging to confirm human presence in specific buildings. And that's when HIMARS came in. 3 precision-guided rockets were launched simultaneously, one targeting the officer's building, another at the vehicle depot, and the third at the drone command unit. Within 15 seconds, the entire base was engulfed in flames. But this wasn't just an attack, it was a message. A reminder that no amount of Russian hardware could protect them from Ukrainian tactics. NATO officials, upon reviewing the operation, reportedly expressed shock not just at the strike's success, but at how few resources Ukraine used to achieve it. Minimal casualties, maximum disruption, surgical execution. This strike did more than destroy buildings. It paralyzed operations in that region for weeks. Let's break down why this strategy worked so well. First, it was intelligence-driven. Ukraine didn't just attack, it waited, it learned, it adapted. They studied patterns, exploited vulnerabilities, and struck at the exact right moment. Second, psychological warfare. By disrupting comms and spreading confusion, Ukrainian forces forced Russian commanders into defensive mode. Fear took over, troops were relocated, operations paused. Some Russian units even believed a full-scale assault was coming, when in fact, it was just a limited, surgical hit. Third, cost efficiency. Instead of wasting ammunition on low-value targets, Ukraine waited for maximum opportunity. This precision-based approach means every dollar of Western aid, every shell, every rocket, is being used to devastating effect. Now let's talk about the tools that made this strike possible. Of course, the HIMARS system is legendary, supplied by the US. These high-mobility artillery rocket systems have become the centerpiece of Ukraine's long-range strike capability. Their GPS-guided missiles allow for pinpoint accuracy, and when combined with real-time intel, they're nearly impossible to stop. But there's more behind the scenes. Ukrainian drones, both aerial and ground-based, were used to scout, track, and simulate movement. Electronic warfare teams disrupted signals, disabled radars, and fed false information. Cyber units coordinated with intelligence analysts to hack local networks and intercept Russian command transmissions. And finally, logistics teams, who prepared backup routes, extraction plans, and emergency contingencies. This was not just a hit. It was a chess move, designed, planned, executed with military precision. So what happens next? Well, the effects of this strike are already visible. Russian logistics chains in the area have slowed. Drone attacks on Ukrainian positions have decreased. Morale among Russian troops, especially conscripts, has dipped even further. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to hit high-value targets, using fewer resources and creating maximum panic behind enemy lines. And while this battle is far from over, one thing is clear. Ukraine is not just defending, it's outsmarting. Now let's talk about the bigger implications. Military experts around the world are taking notes. Ukraine has become a case study in asymmetric warfare, showing how a smaller, less equipped army can defeat a superpower through intelligence, timing, and innovation. In fact, several NATO countries are reportedly updating their own doctrines based on what they've observed in Ukraine. Training programs are changing. Cyber defense units are being expanded. Drone units are receiving more funding, because what Ukraine is doing today could be the model for every future conflict. And then there's the human side. This strategy wasn't executed by machines alone. It was carried out by people, young officers in Kiev tracking satellite feeds, drone pilots hiding in forest shelters, coders working in basements, analysts watching camera feeds for days without sleep, waiting for that one perfect moment. These are heroes not seen on the front pages, but their impact is undeniable. And now, with Western support continuing, and new aid packages arriving, Ukraine is positioned not just to resist, but to lead. So, what can we take from all of this? That strategy wins wars. That numbers mean nothing without planning. And that in the hands of a brilliant defense force, even limited resources can become unstoppable weapons. To everyone watching, this is not just a military update. This is a story of intelligence, resilience, and brilliance. A story that continues to unfold every day. If you want more deep dives like this, don't forget to subscribe. We'll keep bringing you real stories, real strategy, and real inspiration straight from Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Glory to Ukraine.